my shoes untied. It could be unsafe.
Just so you know, you are out of the frame now.
Do you know my last refrigerator had this great magnetic quality to the outside of it? And I got those kids magnet letters. And not my fridge, I'm sorry, my previous dishwasher. I'm sorry, my previous dishwasher. And so I put the letters for unclean if the dishes were dirty. And then I take the un off if they were clean.
That's a good idea.
But that one doesn't stick as well, and now I have an ace who just walk by and eat the letters. Eat the letters and poop out the magnets. So, I watched this movie that I wanted to see for a long time on Netflix called Kumari. And Kumari is an American-made movie by an American-born Indian descent, Indian as in India descent, documentary filmmaker in New Jersey, who grows out his hair, grows a beard, and he mimics his grandmother's Indian accent and moves to Phoenix, Arizona and starts a religious cult. And he tricks the Arizonians into thinking that he's actually some kind of guru, and he feeds them a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo and documents it. And it was funny because Roger Ebert reviewed it, and he said that he was expecting it to be like Borat, like it was going to be like crazy and offensive and insane, and that would have made for a much better movie than what I unfortunately sat through. It was pretty dull. And so I was bored watching the movie, so I went on Rotten Tomatoes, and while I was watching the movie, or listening to the movie, or by osmosis absorbing some of the movie, I read all the reviews about it, and I noticed how everyone was polarized between thinking the movie made a very poignant statement at the end when he revealed himself to his people and told them what he had learned from all of them and shown how much they had grown by believing in themselves and blah, blah, blah. And the other half was how many of the critics felt the way I ultimately felt, was that this wasn't funny, this wasn't clever, it wasn't important, it wasn't effective, it was just plain mean. And I remember when a book came out a few years ago, called The Cross in the Closet, about a gentleman who, a heterosexual Christian minister, pretended to come out as gay and go through what anyone would go through if they were him, if they were that person, if they came out in Christianity as being gay, and he went through the whole experience of being ostracized and rejected by his family and kicked out of Bible college and so forth. And I remember that I actually spoke on that book at the time, and I said the same thing I said about this movie. I said I thought it was mean and pointless, and I don't think what he learned was all that interesting or important, that spending 5 minutes talking to any gay Christian you'd find out anyways, and that I thought what he did was mean, and he hurt a lot of people along the way. Well, he saw that video on YouTube and wrote me, and it's interesting, now we're friends. Now we're friends. I've never changed my opinion of his book. I didn't say anything about his writing or his gifts or anything, and I did ultimately say, despite the fact that I hated the whole thing and I thought it was all wrong, I hope to God I'm wrong, that it opens up people's eyes and change comes of it. my opinion, the jury's still out, but God bless him. But it was funny because I was watching this movie and I was thinking about it going, well, what I'm not going to do is start bagging on this movie and get this guy writing me because, you know, I don't really need any more friends. So, but what both instances really spoke to me was that people are so easily deceived, and they're so easily influenced, and they're so easily led by appearances and smooth talk. And at the end of the day, what both deceptions taught was that it has more to do with what you believe and what you put in and what you take out of it than the person who's delivering it. Because at the end of the day, your experience is reflective of you, and your experience is about ultimately what you believe. So if you go back and listen to every time they complimented Jesus, he was like, hey man, don't compliment me, don't call me good, you know, don't call me this. No one is good but God, no one is true but God. You know, over and over and over again, he deflected compliment. What's everybody doing on their phones?
Taking a picture of you, is that okay?
I don't know. Just remember, Jesus is coming, hide the porn, not in the kitchen. Right? All right. So, just remember. But I think that I think that people, I wish I had a do-over and I could edit all that. Isn't it amazing how some people project onto spiritual people or spiritual representatives what they think and what they feel? I have people tell me all the time that I have said things when I was preaching that I by no means have said. I've had people quote song lyrics that don't exist in articles about me. I've seen all kinds of stuff about me that could be true, but wasn't true at the time they said it was, and therefore it was inaccurate. But people are so convinced, and you know, I've been doing this for so long, I run into people all the time, they go, do you remember me? You told me blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I don't even believe that. I don't even believe that. I would never have said that to someone. And I've always thought that this environment, the church environment, is really a space for people to get distracted by the clown and thus let their guard down, and the Holy Spirit comes in and just kind of does whatever the Holy Spirit does. And sometimes it has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing whatsoever. I've seen that happen so much, and I just reduce myself. I don't know if anyone noticed that. I've started out as a huckster and worked my way down here. But no, I mean, I've had it on my business cards, snake oil salesman, my church business cards before. I mean, I know what this stuff looks like to people. But I hear people, I can't speak for anyone else, but I am convinced I am the most misunderstood person I've ever met. I'm convinced of that from what people have said to me, the people who tell me I'm nice that I've never been nice to, the people who tell me I'm mean that I've been nothing but nice to, the people who tell me how wrong I am when I've been nothing but right, the people who tell me I'm right when I've been nothing but wrong. I don't know. All I can say is that I heard a drag queen on RuPaul's Drag Race said, other people's opinions of me is none of my business. And I thought about that and I went, God, wouldn't that be fun if I actually believed that? But in reality, other people's opinion of me is what they are going to believe. And there's nothing I can do about it. Unless I really want to huff and puff and run around and tell you, oh, no, I'm not as nice as you thought, or I'm not as mean as you. I mean, who cares? I mean, because at the end of the day, I care, but on an incredibly surface level. Because underneath everything, I think I know me better than anyone except maybe God. That's what I think. And I know at least what was in my head at the time I said or did whatever I'm getting praised or cursed for. So in my mind, I think I have some general gist of my motive for whatever that is. Now the Bible does say that, we really don't know our motives because our heart's so deceptive, it actually tricks us into thinking things that aren't true. But I think that when you walk with the Lord for a long time and you develop a relationship with the Holy Spirit and discernment, you do get to see glimpses of your ugly black heart. And no one's referred to their heart as black as I've referred to mine as black in my life. So I think I'm onto something. So that having been said, I am not sorry for anything I said on Facebook today. I'm not sorry.
Amen.
And I'm not taking it back. And I won't back down, in the immortal words of Tom Petty. I'm going to say, just because I'm not being videotaped for the whole world to see, I really don't care who I upset in social media, because that's a whole different arena of ministry. And you piss someone off and you get into it with them, you have what's called dialogue. And in real life, sometimes you don't even get that chance with people. As I pointed out to the gentleman whose book I completely attacked. Look, I got to talk to you. I mean, it'd be much harder to meet him and talk to him if I were just a fan. And I think he's really down to earth, and I think that, that might have been really different than I imagined. But think about it. If you want someone's attention, pass on whispering, insult them. Bam, there, you got all their attention. Say one thing they don't like and bam, they're in your face. And all I said on Facebook today was that I'm praying for not only the friends and family and the survivors from last night's attack, but I'm also praying for the family and friends of the perpetrator. Man, oh Manischewitz. Man, oh Manischewitz, did it explode? And I had one woman who represents the gist of it. Screw the family, screw them. They created a monster. And I said, really? Do you have kids, lady? And she said, well, none of my kids would be a mass murderer. And I go, well, if they were, I'd be praying for your sorry ass, because it probably wouldn't be your fault. Now would it? Give me a break, my gosh. I said in my post, anyone who's lost a child knows how complicated this all is and how hard it is. And my gosh, I mean, but not only were good old Americans attacking me for including the family of the perpetrator. I had what felt like the entire gay community come after me for useless prayers, that prayers aren't working, something else needs to be done. And if you've seen my latest post, the one that will be the final nail in the coffin for the night for me, I said, that's funny, because whatever you people have been doing up till now didn't stop last night either. In all fairness. Now, the last thing I'm going to say on Facebook on the subject, when I'm done here and I have 800 comments to remove, I will say, and who knows, maybe our useless prayers have made it where it only happened one time this week instead of every night this week. In all fairness. But I think that American Christianity is obsessed with being oblivious to the obvious. I think that we like to look the other way and say, well, it didn't happen here, let's hug our family, say our prayers, and go to bed. And I think we're like that about just about everything. And I think it dates back to, well, I think it's a human condition, but I also think it's a condition of non-global Christianity in perspective, that I remember year after year meeting, white privileged Christians in America and hearing the way they talked about the Middle East and how anyone in the Middle East who wasn't a Jew had no rights or privileges and they deserved to be killed, was the mentality. And I was like, gosh, it's kind of how you are with animals. God gave us dominion over the animals. He didn't say we could put them in concentration camps. And God, promised Israel to the Jewish people. It doesn't mean we can just slaughter everybody to get it. And I think the mentality just simply is one of privilege, in America. And I think that it translates to every aspect of how people interact as Christians in every walk of their life, every part of life. For instance, I think what I just said is the reason why Christian parents will kick out a gay kid from their home without blinking an eye. I think that inability to feel any conscience and challenge yourself and say, I might be wrong here, goes away when what we're doing, what we used to call being too heavenly minded to be any earthly good. To have this mentality of,